Ross and John before we begin a question and answer period. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Ross Atkins. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So we're here today to talk a little bit about the discussions that John and I have been having over an extended period. So some personal, some professional, some about the future, some obviously about the present. Ultimately, what we've decided is that John will not be returning as our manager. So you don't come to those decisions easily. It's been very difficult, but ultimately because of who he is as a man and our respect for him, we are here today. So with that, I'll turn it over to John.
We kept that secret pretty good, didn't we? So anyway, no, thanks, Ross. Yeah, it's we have been talking obviously the last couple months. What happens in the baseball world. Things start changing, expectations, for your team, and if things don't go well. But when Ross first came in, I'll be honest with you, I thought I was probably gone then, and I can't thank him enough for keeping me around. He, that doesn't always happen. It's quite unusual. So I've got nothing but great things to say about that. So and he put a lot of money in my pocket. That's not bad either. So, but anyway, yes, we're here. I mean, Ross and I are on good terms. Just one of those things that happen in baseball. It's not surprising. It's pretty common, and we've come to the conclusion, for best for both sides, that we go different directions. So that's where we're at today.
So just before we turn it over to questions, in an attempt to, I'm just one person here and representing obviously a lot of people in this organization, and to an attempt to express our respect and appreciation for Gibby. I'm sure that Paul Beeston and Alex Anthopoulos and J.P. Ricciardi and Mark Shapiro would have powerful things to say. I really wanted to share something a bit more anecdotal. So Gibby and I meet with every player at the start of the season, at the end of the season, and in those interactions there's a lot of emotion, a lot of different things happen in all of those interactions. And yesterday with Lourdes Gurriel, we actually had one of those moments that I'll always remember, and he stopped the meeting with a gesture towards Gibby, and he said, I just want to thank you for this opportunity, but more than that, I was really struggling. I was having a hard time with offensively, defensively, just physically where I was mentally, and you pulled me aside, you looked at me when I was sitting on the bench, and you said, hey, remember to smile and remember to enjoy this. And he said, I will never forget that. I really appreciate that. And I knew that in my heart. My dad's told me that my whole life, he said. But I had forgotten to do that. And it reminded me of rewind back to my first spring training. New organization, new team, big expectations, a lot of new people. And we're flying from spring training to Montreal. And Gibby sits down next to me on the plane, and he says, hey man, these are big jobs. There's a lot of expectations, but remember to have fun and remember to enjoy the ride. I'll never forget it. And I'm not telling that story to speak only of his balance and of his perspective, which he has a great deal of, but it's the experience that he has of knowing when and how to say those things that is extremely powerful. So the years as a minor league manager, the years as a minor league leader, the thousands of players that he's impacted, the hundreds of staff members that he's touched, that is why he's so respected. One of the many reasons why he's so respected in this game. I've learned a great deal from him, and I've enjoyed every step of the way. And over the course of those hundreds of meetings with players, he and I have bonded. That's where we've had our bonds. And obviously it's not just the start and the end of the season. There's a lot of tough interactions with players, and what's abundantly clear that he and I share is our love for players, our respect for players, and how hard this game is and how difficult it is. One of the things I've also learned from Gibby is just it's always important to reflect upon why we're doing this, and the fans are always at the forefront. And he's really helped this organization remember that and see that. And so as we are here today at a time that there is going to be a change, we are going to have a new voice, we are going to have a new approach. This is a day that we are getting to with the utmost respect for John Gibbons. And I speak for a lot of the people that are in this room, and not just myself, but that is undoubted. So, Gibby, if you have any other comments before we turn it over to questions.
Quit after that, huh? No, I'm good. Thank you, Ross. So,
Please raise your hand and wait for a microphone to be brought to you. Rich first and then second.
Give me a two-part question. First, how do you explain that even though you were saddled with an awful team all season, that your popularity has gone up with fans this year? And second, do you have a personal message that you can leave with fans in Toronto and across Canada?
well, you know what, Griff, you come into every year and you expect big things. I mean, if you, in these jobs, if you're not optimistic, you're probably the wrong guy to begin with. But you always realize how tough this level is, and a lot of times things have to go your way. And we got off to a good start this year, then we fizzled. That's part of it for whatever reason. The second part of your question, the fans, I'm a little surprised. They kind of taken to me a little bit, or at least I seem to hear the good ones now. It's, kind of, but that hasn't always been that way. My first go round, there was, I was probably a little more sensitive back then. Naturally, first time on the job, I was carrying JP's weight around behind me, your boy, and so, but. Yeah, but over time, big part of it is the second go round. It's obviously been much nicer. We got close to getting to the World Series. We didn't win anything, but winning cures a lot of things and fools a lot of people. So, but but you know what? I really can't fairly probably explain what's happened around here as far as the support we've gotten. When my first year here, even when I was a coach before I started managing, everybody always said, looking back into the 80s, when this place first opened, there was, nobody ever drew 4 million people, And I always say, well, if you put a good team on the field, a competitive team that's in at the end, the people will show up, and so, okay. And it took a while. It took some years, and then finally everything came together in 2015, and that's what happened. They started showing up in droves. We caught fire as a team, and that helped, and we were there in the end. And they were here every day, filling this place up. So, I was told that, and that's the fans did their part, and. Look back when we go out to Seattle, they see us on TV most of the time, but, when they get a chance, we go out there once a year, they show up in force, and it's pretty cool. But, one team in one country, big country, it's pretty cool. So I thank them. I can't thank them enough. So.
You think that has anything to do with your Little League days in Labrador?
Yeah. I don't even think they know we have a team.
John, over here in the center. Is there one moment, what is the moment that sticks out to you that's most defining of your time here?
Well, that's kind of a tough question to answer. Really, big league sports, and we're in baseball, it's all about winning, that's the bottom line. Sometimes, it can be a long road to get there, but that's, when you don't win, they make change. It happens. That's just the way it goes. But when I think it'd been 23 years, if I'm not mistaken, the exact time. But it all came together. We finally became relevant in baseball again. It had been a long time, and just to be a part of that. Because we'd hear it every year. When's the team going to do this or that, what have you. And then it finally happened, and it happened in a big way because for half that season it was just kind of hanging around, not making a big push. Then we exploded. So I think to be a part of that in the actual celebration there, and for this is the only place I've ever managed in the big leagues, so I had never experienced that. Briefly I did with the Mets back in the 80s in a very, very small part. But to do that, when you are the manager of the team, that since that is the ultimate goal, that's what stands out. But I've had so many good memories of this place, in good times and bad, so.
John, I'm still not clear on this. Did you want to stay? And what direction do you hope to take from here other than south to San Antonio?
Well, Rosie, you know what? I'll always be a Blue Jay. But I've been in baseball a long time now, and I get how this business works. And I knew the reality of it. It wasn't just coming from here; it was coming, from all over baseball. When we were a pretty good team for a couple of years, but if things start sliding, I mean that's just the way it goes, right? And so I was well aware of that. And then me and Ross, been talking the last couple months, and it's kind of, the storm clouds are gathering, no doubt. It's just not from, from this side. And so I knew that's the reality of it. And, I've been here a long time, and I agree, it's probably time for change. We're rebuilding here. And actually, I think I'm a perfect guy for a rebuild, but I don't know if I have the energy necessary, because, I function well with real, young kids. I've heard the argument against, but I don't buy that. So, but yeah, I think we both agreed, the time is right. Because I think what's going to happen, you bring in a lot of young kids, and some of them got a chance to be really good. And so it's probably best that, you bring in a guy that, that can last a while with those guys. Because, you never know how, I'm not old, but I'm not young either. So, so we'll see. But, I like still, keep managing the game if that, these jobs are tough to come by. If not, I'd like to stay in the game in some capacity, because I'm not ready to retire yet. But, got some buddies that have those special assignment jobs, where they go out once a month and or take some phone calls. Those have always sounded good to me.
John, before you told us, did you have a chance to talk to your players about this decision, and is there another sort of goodbye session coming in the next few days?
Well, I didn't gather them all as a group. I've talked to each of them individually. Like I said, everybody, I said earlier about a secret. It wasn't a secret. Especially some of the guys that I've been here with. And there's not many of them left in there. And so. Not that it would have been a distraction, but you get a lot of young kids that come up and they're, we want to watch them succeed. You want them to do that. And like I said, I don't think it wasn't going to ruin their start of their career by any means. But I thought, everybody knows what's going on, and I'm a low key guy. I like the low key things anyway. So, but I will. The final 3 days in Tampa, I'll get with some, some different guys and talk some things.
Ross, from your vantage point, what were some of the reasons that precipitated this change, and what will you be looking for in the new voice and the different way of doing things that you mentioned before?
Yeah, Shai, it's obviously a very fair question. I think Gibby addressed it pretty well, actually. As you go through transitions and talking about what the challenges are that are ahead, we talked about those together. We had those discussions. We've been having them ongoing for 3 years. And in most cases, and the most important areas, we've always aligned. And obviously, in any relationship, there's going to be disagreements and how things can be done and how we can optimize things for this organization. But ultimately, we decided it's time for a change, and it's time for a new approach, a new voice. And again, because of the man that Gibby is, we are here today respectfully. And we're grateful for that, and because he deserves that, there's no doubt. As it relates to moving forward, I'd be glad to talk to you about that in the future.
How you doing, John? For any player or coach that comes to Toronto to play for any of our sports teams, quickly realizes that playing in Toronto at times could be difficult, considering how passionate the fans are and how high the expectations are. was wondering if you can offer any comments or advice to any player or coach that comes up to Canada to play for the Blue Jays or any organization here, to talk about what it's like in terms of the demand and the expectations, and also dealing with the media here.
Well, I thought the only thing that nobody liked was the customs, you know, but no, really, yeah, I mean, it's a great sports city, you know. You look at the last few years, you know, all three of their top teams, well, 4 in the soccer, Lower there, with, you know, everybody's winning, you know, and that's what, like I said earlier, that's what it's all about, you know. I mean, you know, people pay a lot of money to go to sporting events. They like to see winning, you know. So, but yeah, there's just passionate people up here. There's no doubt about that. But I will say this, they're fair. I mean, they're fair to play. I've never heard one complaint that any player that's played here that left here with any complaints about how they were treated in actual living, you know. And most of the guys are foreign players, whether it's from the U.S. or other countries, when they come here. So they, you know, they don't know what to expect, but you know, they actually, I guarantee it's close to 100% that they all enjoyed their time here. You know, it's a clean city, it's a safe city. You know, it's not like a lot of U.S. cities are running around. You know, in all seriousness. So they feel good, and the people treat them great, you know, and I'm not saying it's easy to play here, but you know what, if you do well, they take care of you pretty good.
John, can you envision this team being a contender in the near future?
Yeah, I definitely can. You know what, you know, when you start reshaping things, you know, you never know how long that's going to take. I mean, you know, it's never easy. You know, I think you're always best to take a conservative approach, because you never really know. But you know, there's also times that, you know, something just happens, they all come together, you get the right mix, or you pick up this guy or whatever, or the guys that come up, you know, get off to great starts, and so sometimes it works faster. Some places it takes a little bit longer. You know, you never really know, but it's always good to inject some youth, you know, some energy and things like that. So, you know, only time will tell. You know, it's definitely not an easy division to be in, but there really isn't one out there. But yeah, only time will tell that. But there is some good-looking young kids coming in, and some impact guys, which is really, you need some of those guys too, not just your average Joe.
Gibby, have you thought about whether or not you'd like to manage in the major leagues again?
Yeah, I would. I definitely would. I mean, these jobs are hard to come by. There's no doubt. There's only 30 of them, but we'll see. You know, it's not going to destroy me if I don't. But yeah, I still, you know, with time's on my side, age-wise anyway, I think. Yeah, I'd like to try it again.
Ross, have you had a chance to talk to the coaching staff about their future? And Gibby, can you talk about the coaches and the impact they've had on your managing?
Sure, yes, I have. I've talked to them as a group and talked to them about how much we appreciate what they have done, and hopefully in, you know, all or some of their cases, what they'll continue to do for the Blue Jays. They have been unbelievably committed to winning and to the players' development and getting better. You guys know how much work goes into that. So I've thanked them for that, not in a goodbye, but also let them know that I'll sit down with them this weekend and talk to them individually about what's ahead. But yeah, I can't say enough about how united they are as a group, how strong they have worked together as a group, and they've had good results. You know, in the past, this has been an unfortunate couple of years, but not from a lack of effort, and they've also been great as individuals.
Yeah, Griff, I can't say enough about those guys. You know, when I came back, you know, a few of them been with the team anyway. You know, a couple of them I didn't really know, but you know, I'd heard how good they were. You know, so it make, you know, perfect. So, and it's you know, your coaches, they do all the work really. You know, the managers, you know, we do this kind of thing, and then but you really couldn't assemble a better group. Not only baseball guys, but individuals. You know, it's you know, they're all team guys, they're all loyal guys, and good guys. So, but what always happens when there's change, you know, there's usually a little more change. You know, that's the unfortunate part of this business is when something happens in my position, usually affects somebody else. But I think everybody's under contract for another year, which is a good thing. But we'll see. But either they're all good enough that if something does happen to them, I'd be surprised if they didn't get another opportunity somewhere else, or at least they should.
John, when you look back, do you have any regrets?
No, I really don't. You know, I'm sure there's many things I could have done differently, but you know, I approach it every day to do the best job I can and live with the results, whether that's what happens on the field or the way I deal with, you know, my team or what have you. And yeah, I mean, there's some things that happened over the years. You know, but I can honestly say I don't know if I would have handled some things differently, to be honest with you. So I try to live my life with no regrets. I don't know, maybe I don't know. But yeah, because you know what, I look in that mirror a lot, and you know what, if one thing I can say, you know, one thing I can say is since I've been doing this, you know, I think I'm a fair guy. I don't think you could probably ever run across a player that's played for me that wouldn't tell you at least I treat him like a man or I was fair as I could be. So, and you know, that's those are important things to me.
John, you've seen other players, longtime players, say goodbye at the stadium. What are you expecting from today when you're sitting in the dugout managing this game?
You know, I don't know. I really don't know. You know, I'd never been a big fanfare guy. You know, I kind of like live my life low key. You know, so hopefully we have a game we don't have to. You know, I don't have to go to the mound too often. You know, I'd like to finish it off on a win at home. Put it that way.
Ross, as John just mentioned, everybody's on has another year in their contract, including him, including John. So does the club have any intention of exploiting that in some way or keeping him on in some capacity or as a consultant or anything since you're paying him?
Yeah, absolutely. We've already talked about that, and it's not about, I'm glad that money is guaranteed for him. And we'll talk about something beyond that he's paid for. We're not looking to take advantage of that in a way that is financial. What we'd like to take advantage of is his experiences, his skill set, his leadership. We will obviously have those conversations. So we've just talked about that on the surface level, and we'll continue to have those discussions.
You guys mentioned that these discussions happened over the course of a couple months. Was there a point in time that you kind of realized this was the path you were going to end up on?
I mean, I'll let Gibby speak too. I think it was really this weekend that it became more concrete. But it's such a difficult place to ultimately get because how hard Gibby has worked, how hard that we've been committed to working together. And so to come to that point is a very difficult realization. I think, you know, once we started at the deadline to have those discussions, you know, it was not crystal clear, that's for sure. And we were committed to being honest with one another. And again, we had a lot of personal discussions. We had a lot of professional discussions, present, future, you know, and ultimately getting to this point that I think Gibby said it best, that, you know, I would echo everything he said earlier.
Just one or two more. Any further questions? Okay, well, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Before I leave, you know, some people I want to thank. You know, well, the first one, Buck. No, Buck over there, the first guy. He gave me my first job here, Buck. The problem was the team wasn't very good, and it cost you. You know, I mean, that's part of the best. We're talking about now. You know, that's the way the game works. So, you know, Buck's been tremendous for me, and he's, you know, baseball Canada and everything. So, you know, Paul Godfrey was the president here when I came, you know, and he, when J.P. Richardi, maybe the interim manager, of course, he had to sign off on that. So, and J.P., he's an old buddy of mine. That's how the game works too sometimes. he gave me my first job, coaching job, to come here when actually I didn't have a job. So that's how. So I can't thank him enough. You know, and Alex was a dear friend of mine. You know, he brought me back the second time. You know, which is, and he was taking a gamble. There's no doubt about it. But it worked, and you know, I'll never forget him for that. And then an old friend, you know, that I've come to know more and more over the years is Paul Beeston. You know, who's probably Mr. Blue Jay, probably the most optimistic guy. You know, when you're talking, you know, baseball, wanting to win. And you know, they're all special people to me, and you know what? They're all great baseball people, and you know, you don't get these opportunities without those guys. So. And then last but not least, you guys out there, you know, we've had some good times together. And I don't like that you have to do it before the game, after the game, and sometimes, you know, in between. But I can honestly say I've really enjoyed you guys' company. We have fun together. We don't always agree on things, but you're not supposed to. You know, if you agree on everything, something's not going to work. So, but I can't thank you guys enough, and we'll be friends forever. And I
All right. All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
all right.